The very first time we met a man by the name of Dennis Poor as the chairman of a newly formed company which Triumph is now part, Norton Villiers Triumph. He's also the chairman of Manganese Bronze. For the very first time came to Meridan to meet the workforce, and he told us on that day that he'd acquired 3 motorcycle factories, 3 motorcycle activities. It was not economical, he suggested, to run 3, so he was closing Meridan down as from February of next year. What had been happening up until September, in fact, coming back from the annual summer holiday in the first day of August, I believe it was, we recognised it was a very acute starvation of parts. It was then really that we began to smell this rat.
That rat turned out to be Dennis Poor, the Manganese Bronze motorcycle butcher, who came and summer early sacked us in 8 minutes flat, said that we could ask him questions of the situation and his reasons for leading up to his decision to close the plant, but we'd have to be quick as he had a train to catch back to London. We left the meeting, and in fact we found the Telegraph, the Coventry Evening Telegraph, on sale at the gate with all the details in print. They had in fact been told before we had.
The truth of the matter is, why he wants to sell Meridan, as I see it, is a culmination of things. But one, you've got a wage rate where he can get his machines made somewhere else, and after all said and done, we've earned the reputation that Triumph's got, and now having established a reputation, he thinks it's going to be pretty simple to get them built somewhere else by somebody else, pay a lower wage rate, he's still going to sell them. 2, the other 2 motorcycle activities, one is at Wolverhampton, where the place is leased to them. They don't own the ground, it's leased. And the other place, the only other option he's got, is the BSA works at Small Heath. Now, first of all, it's pretty antiquated. And the other aspect is, within that site, it does house 2 of the other BSA group companies, which means if he sold BSA site, he'd have to find new premises for his guns and his scintilling. That's where we touch on Manganese Bronze, because this bloke, Paul, it's certainly no bloody fool. He put up 4.8 million, similar to the government's 4.8 million, public money that the government pumped in. 1.3 million from that 4.8 was involved in buying the 2 motorcycle activities, along with 4.8 of the government. So 1.3 for BSA and Triumph, the motorcycle activity, which he pushed to one side and lumped up with Norton Villiers and called it Norton Villiers Triumph. His other 3.5, which remained of his 4.8, brought him the other 11 companies from the BSA group. All good companies, pretty good companies. For instance, Car Bodies in Coventry, and they make the London taxi cab type of body. The guns are Sinatrin, Hartley Heating, Berkeley Engineering. And all these companies, very sound, very profitable companies, he took very, very safely away into Manganese Bronze, which he is the chairman of, and that's the holding company, Manganese Bronze. So for 3.5 million, he got himself 11 very good companies, took them away very securely, so no matter what happens, he's still got those tucked away in Manganese Bronze. 1.3 got in the Triumph and BSA motorcycle activity, which even if it does die, even if he does kill it off, which it appears he intends to do, all it's going to cost him is 1.3 million. 1.3 million could easily be put right what's into the sale of the Meridan site, couldn't it? You got a hell of a good deal. Situation is one really which makes it absolutely unacceptable, this proposed move from Meridan to Birmingham to get the machines manufactured there. In so much as the job is still going to be done, they still want Triumph motorcycles. We know only too well that the Americans and everybody else can still sell them. And it's simply a case of our job being done somewhere else by somebody else. Dennis Poor did no research whatsoever. You see, he really believes that he's going to just make a motorcycle somewhere, and it's definitely not going to be a Triumph, because it couldn't ever be a Triumph, because if you haven't got the Triumph people involved, it won't look like a Triumph, it won't sound like a Triumph, it won't be a Triumph. But it just proves his research was absolutely nil, because he honestly believes that he still thinks that by getting our name badge and its reputation that it carries, making a motorcycle somewhere and screwing our badge onto it, that it's going to sell as a Triumph. We can assure you that it won't. A Triumph is a Triumph. All that Paul wants from the Meridan site is simply the name and the reputation. A name which has got a reputation as a result of the energies that have been put in here by the people that work here.
The next contact we had with management was when one of his hired guns, Geoffrey Fawn, a man of some fame previously at Rolls-Royce, we believe he caused quite a shambles there. He came on the site kindly told us that a third of the workforce would be sacked on November the 30th. A further third would be sacked at Christmas. The remainder would be kept on to do a cleaning up operation on the site. They would be sacked at the end of January. And the management trusted that they would have the cooperation and the good offices of the union in order to help them implement their plan. He then began to talk redundancy money, also severance pay, some kind of ex gratia payment. At that point, our chairman, thank Christ, told him he had about 20 minutes to get off the ground. He did leave after about 10 minutes, in fact, and we chained the gates. And from then, we more or less kept command of the site.
Yeah, it was November 12th.
Well, the workforce are occupying the plant, and we're doing this on a rota basis. We have 9 picket shifts with about 50 people on each shift, which we cover 24 hours of the day in 6-hour shifts.
We've secured the factory, we've locked the factory up completely, even the pickets aren't allowed inside the factory. We've allowed the management to send on industrial cleaners so that there's no health risk to the pickets or the family that stays on the site. We've cleaned up all the litter, and actually all we're maintaining is the guard on the gates and any entrances to the factory.
We're owner occupied. The occupier is the owner, as far as we're concerned, and we occupy the site, so then we become the owner.
The value of the bikes we have in the plant at the moment is around, probably £1 million.
They're our bargaining power.
Because this isn't a picket to strike, this is a picket for our jobs. We want our jobs, we're not striking. That's all we need is the jobs that we've built up at Triumph. Some people have spent their whole lifetime building up. They don't want to go somewhere else. And for myself, I was made redundant 2 years ago. I was on my own then. This time I'm with a group of people who I think have got the right idea, and I'm with them 100%. Because I know if I go somewhere else, there's no saying how long it'll be before you're redundant again. You just go from factory to factory and you're just a nothing, from here to there.
Well, let's face it, none of us have ever seen anything like this before. I've worked here since I left school. Jim's been here more or less the same time, probably longer. And, you know, I've just never known anything like it before. They say go down the dole and that. I've never done it before in my life.
Well, should you go down the dole?
They say go down to the... When you think that you probably have to go to the dole or something like that, you know, and sign on all this time. I don't know, it seems terrible to me.
Well, put it this way. Personally, I'm very proud of the old Triumph. I've been here quite a long time. I'm very interested, probably more so than a good many. At the same time, I also think that the Coventry as a whole is proud of Triumphs, because not only are they very well known throughout the world, but they've had a name which has been superior to practically anything you've come in contact with.
Most of the employees of the Triumph Engineering Company have worked here for 20 to 45 years service. Fathers, sons, wives and daughters have always been very proud to be employed by the Triumph Engineering Company.
That's the sort of thing that happens at Triumph. People come here and they stay. Invariably, they're people that have ridden motorcycles. In fact, a lot of them still do ride motorcycles, if not for transport, as a hobby, involved in motocross, road racing, this kind of things. People are actively involved in motorcycling, and I think they love the job they do. So this really is a result, is that our labour turnover is something like 2%. People come to Meridan and they stop. And this is perhaps the reason that we've got such tremendous support in operating this working. You've got to bear in mind we were sacked almost a fortnight ago. Now, roughly a fortnight ago we were sacked, and here we are with a good half of the workforce still turning up to look after their particular shift of picketing on their particular rota.
We were usually on the other side of the counter, you know, wondering what was going on this side, but it's amazing how you can adapt, you know, when you have to. I mean, none of us have ever sort of catered for a big amount at all. But you soon get into it, really, you know. It's just a matter of, well, just extra quantities, that's all, you know, learning how to use the chip pan. Mind you, the smell of the chips for about 3 days afterwards, you know. It's terrible, but...
Are any of the men doing work?
Yes, they have been, say, from 12 at night to 6 in the morning, when women haven't sort of up to now done anything. They've been doing soup, or we've left potatoes peeled and meals ready, and they're quite capable, actually. In fact, they're just as capable as us. It's no good saying that we're superior to them in that field, because we're not. No, everybody blends in. It's the same as a lot of the jobs in the factory, though. You know, I sort of work on the track, and I'm quite capable of doing men's work, the same as what you sort of have to be versatile. You know, you sort of have to travel around on different jobs. So you expect the men to do their bit here as well, and they quite willingly do it. You know, there's no sort of all the women to the canteen, like, you know, segregators. Then.
My job, building fork legs. I've done various jobs throughout the factory, you know, but building wheels. But the job at the moment is building fork legs, assembling.
These people have worked hard to produce, and it has been proved that they produce the finest motorcycle in the world.
I'm sure what angers them most of all is to find out that the job is still going to be done somewhere else by somebody else, simply using our name and our badge to sell what won't be a genuine Triumph. Now this makes it absolutely unacceptable. It's just absolutely not on.
Oh, we've got wonderful support, financial support. If anything comes tonight, any wagons, lorries, we could have at least 300 people at least on this gate within half an hour. From all over the town, Jaguar, Chryslers,
we'd like to see any
all
support
over.
at all, which they're prepared to give us. Yeah. They're prepared to give us picket support and money support. Well, okay, that's all right with us.
Students' union are supporting us, everybody's supporting us, all over the town. We're even thinking of having stoppages over the town now about this.
We'd rather them give us financial help than have a day's stoppage, you know. Let them earn the money and give us an hour's pay, you know.
And some people have pledged to work overtime and give us some money, didn't they? Woofy from the Rootses said that the overtime money would be given into our funds, for the picket funds, yeah.
Which is very good.
It's a lot more constructive.
The best support we can have.
Well, of course it is. Well, you don't want to stop other industry. I mean, as long as you've got the support when you need it, if anybody comes.
I would say that the BSA personnel that was left, which was about 1,800, would have been more than pleased to cooperate with us. I would say that the most important thing would be now, from the point of view of the position we're in. Let's say if the unions who were here the other day, on Monday, support us in the way which they say, have a one-day token strike in Coventry, organise it beforehand, a one-day token strike, and the money we've collected here, a large percentage of it could be used to rent buses for the day to take the whole damn lot to London, do a mass demonstration in London with a deputation going to the House of Commons and have a chat with our friend Mr. Hal Wilson. Mind you, I don't think he's in very good health at the moment, but I think if it went to the right place, it may have a little more significance.
Dennis Poor's, one of his most fantastic statements was that the twin was finished, and we had one of the top distributors from the USA, Bob Myers, and I'll quote him here. He said, "You make me as many twins as you like for the next 10 years and I'll sell them, and I don't even want you to change the paint on the gas tank. Just make them the way you're making them now, and we'll sell them for the next 10 years, I can promise you that." He said, "In fact, I'll sell more than you can make." Now, Dennis Poor doesn't just recognise this. He came here, we asked him what physical exercise did he carry out on this plant to come to the conclusion that we were inefficient and unable to compete in a competitive market. He said that a team of his accountants had examined the books. This was his answer. nobody had come on the site.
Their argument is that this plant at Meridan is losing £4 million a year. They don't give specific reasons. We've asked them countless times to specify, to give us a breakdown of the £4 million, and they refused to do so. They said we were welcome to look at the books. They opened the books to us. We accepted their offer.
Yep.
They were quite happy with us until we come forward with their own accountant. They imagined that we were going to go down personally and look at the book. In answer to a question put to them, specify exactly what part, if any, of that £4 million has Triumph Engineering as a separate entity been responsible for. And he said it's very difficult to specify because when you have different companies combined in a group, the figures are juggled from one to the other. They used the word juggle.
What he intended us to do, he intended us to work for 6 months while he was preparing BSA, and he would have phased us out and phased BSA Small Heath in. And this way he wouldn't have lost the market. If you're going to close part of your business as such and manufacture in one area, and you're an asset stripper at the same time, and you've got two factories, one which you lease and one which you own, it's pretty obvious which one you want to sell. Because you're asset stripping, so you close the one you own and carry on building in the one you lease. This is basically what it's all about.
He's never had anything like this before, though. He's never had anybody stand up to him and stop him doing it, has he? He's done it before. He's done it 3, 4 other places.
He started off about 6 years ago with AMC, Ariel, Francis Barnett, James, Matchless, Royal Enfield. He sold Plumstead, which was Norton Bullier's factory. He bought Andover with local government grant. He then sacked the workforce there. He's been very consistent. Everything he's touched, he's turned into money and left an empty space in British industry.
So the sitting isn't simply centred on the 1,750 jobs. It isn't simply centred on keeping the Meridan site and keeping Triumphs made at the Meridan site. Really now there's a far bigger aspect, and that is the British motorcycle industry, which we believe will be damaged absolutely beyond repair by Mr. Paul's plan and the good name of the British workman, in fact. Because we're fairly confident that the sort of problems that are going to come out of no motorcycles going out of this country are going to be very fairly and squarely blamed, or attempted to be blamed, on the work people of this country. And financiers like Dennis Poor are simply going to say, well, they did all they could and they didn't get the cooperation.
I don't see any need for management as such. I can see the need for a man who knows about the particular industry he's connected with. I can see the need for a man who would have to have the final say after due consultation and predetermination of the workforce of any given situation. They'd have to determine what line they were going to take and maybe, if you like, accept his guidance. Being a man who is well versed in the job he is actually doing. Not just some bloody financier coming in and playing about, you know, ducks and drakes with industry. This is what Dennis Poor is. Dennis Poor isn't interested in making a thing. He's not interested in manufacturing a product. Well, if you can tell me one thing that Poor has made, I'd be very interested, you know. Apart from money. And how's he made it? Well, anybody that's been connected with him made his money for him. But meantime, they've been hived off, you know. Sold out. Not that I think Dennis Poor intended to make anything. He intended to get his hands on the £5 million, get his hand on the 12 viable companies, and then get out quick and sell the land behind him. He's a real estate agent, an industrial butcher. But until the public see this, or are made to see it, I don't know what we're going to do about him. He'll still be left prowling through the bloody city of London.
To cooperate with a man like Dennis Poor, and to cooperate actively into putting his plan into operation, would be absolutely verging on the criminal. To do what we're doing at Triumph now is the only thing that can be done in order to try and at least save another industry being killed in this country.
And he said, were I to do it again, I'd go about it differently. I said, Jesus fucking Christ, where are you going next?